Hi guys, welcome to Talk Football. Josh MUFC here, and we have Dan with us. First time together, so excuse if there's going to be any teething issues with the presenting and the conversation, but it should be all good. We're just here today, going to give you a quick run through of transfer updates and any news from deadline day. Lots going on. Dan, how are you? What are your thoughts on today so far?
Yeah, I'm really good. Yeah, it's nice to obviously be here, and it's nice to see Liverpool have actually made a signing. So we're going to be discussing that later on. So finally brought some midfield reinforcements in, so I'm a little bit happier than what I was, and still happy after the result last night. So yeah, I'm really good.
Yeah, I mean that was an 8th minute injury time winner. That was a
97 actually, but yeah, 97.
Yeah.
It fell within 97 something or other. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying Liverpool. Causing all sorts of problems for the world football opinion.
Yeah.
I enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, what do you? There's been a lot of outcry about it. I mean, some people saying it shouldn't have gone on that long, but there was time wasting. There was, I think it was a fake 1 minute injury or something that was going on. It just kind of
Yeah, it's quite funny. It's quite funny because obviously I don't make a big thing of it because this isn't the first time that someone scored after blah 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 and all the rest of it. But what needs to be said is 98 should never have 8 minutes. I don't go back and have a look because from what I believe Munsey talks, I think it fell within 97 something. It wasn't 98 minutes plus. It went on as 98. 90 plus 8 because it fell within the 97th minute of the game. But what needs to be said is there's already the Liverpool kind of what words are lunatics or whatever they are. They've put out there. Someone's timed every time the ball stops, and apparently it was 16 minutes. The game was stopped due to injuries or substitutions. So there was an extra 8 minutes that should have been given. But one thing I will say to everyone. In those 8 minutes that people are whinging about, could Newcastle have scored?
Yeah, I think there's every chance.
And it could have been 2-1.
That's right.
There's two teams on a pitch, isn't there? It wasn't just Liverpool who could score in those last 8 minutes. Newcastle could have scored too. So, it's two teams on the pitch. It's not just the one. So, listen, it happens. Sometimes you go for and sometimes they go against you.
Well, I mean, that's football. I mean, as you rightly say, there's two sets of 11 players on the pitch, and whether they decide to play or not, there's an equal opportunity from the start. So, yeah, I mean, there have been worse decisions. There have been worse things done in extra time that can be shouted out about. But you know what? That's football, and we move on, and that's.
Well, I mean, that's all you can say, isn't it? This is the thing. It's happened. There's plenty of decisions. The Isaac decision being offside. Last season it would have been onside, perhaps, but then Rashford last season would have been offside in that game. They come round for you. Sometimes it works for you, sometimes it goes against you. We're all just having to get used to them changing the way that they officiate. It's not straightforward enough, and I think it outlines really what needs to happen is we need an independent timer so that whenever it goes out, the exact amount of time that is not played is then given as extra time. So there's no question anymore.
I'm pretty sure I'm not sure where the statistic was that I saw it, but it's something along the lines that there are so many stoppages in play and there are so many throw-ins, free kicks, questioning the ref, whatever, that there's actually, I think it's something like 60 minutes of open ball play without interruptions throughout the entire 90. Yeah, so I mean, if you're going to take that stance, you could be looking at an hour of injury time, extra time, whatnot. Like there is so
sounds good
stuff.
To me. That's what we need. Let's just keep going. You know what I'm saying? Let's keep the football going. But it happens. Yeah. It happens. It was a good result, and I'm very pleased with myself.
That's it. All right, we'll just bounce through some housekeeping now. See, we've got some likes on the platform already. So yeah, anyone that's new or current or watching back or anything, don't be sure to drop a like, share, subscribe if you so desire. We're getting there gradually, person by person. So we thank you all. We love you all for helping us out. So from here on in, I think we can bounce into the transfer updates for deadline day. I'll just bring it up to the screen, make sure that we're looking good. I think that will do there. This website is Go Arena. There's basically Twitter feed updates as we go along. First one here, first talking point. Douglas Luiz pushing to join Arsenal. He wants the move and official talks are ongoing for a 20 million fee. Personal terms have already been agreed. Now, there was a placeholder comment before where they were saying, as it stands, Villa don't want to sell him, but usually in journo talk, that's just covering your base, basically saying, subject to change. That's basically what it means. So, yeah, thoughts on that?
I mean, Douglas Luiz, he's funny because he seems to have been a player who no one was interested in for the most of the window. But this last week, he's become kind of hot property. He's been linked with Atletico Madrid, and then he was sort of copy and paste linked to Liverpool. I'm not quite sure how those kind of deals are true, to be totally honest with you, as to how he would be interested in Liverpool. Because for his profile and for where he's been, I don't really see him at Liverpool. I think he'd be a great option, as in if he was literally a bench option. And Arsenal makes a lot of sense because they've got a preferred midfield already. And Douglas Luiz is quite clearly just someone who's a rotational player that would have been brilliant for them. Just to have, in, say, the League Cup, in the FA Cup, in the the Europa League. I mean, that's going to be really big for them because that kicks off next week. It's extra football and having an extra pair of legs in midfield. Now they've lost El Nene for a fair few weeks, and Partey has got an injury as far as we're concerned. Don't know how long that's going to be. So it's a good one. I think it's a good signing for Arsenal if they can get it done.
Yeah, I think just to follow on from your point, like it is literally down to numbers because this season is so congested, so much football to be played. At times you're going to be playing, 3 to 4 games a week if you're in all competitions. So you need the rotation. Now, this guy, I don't know a lot about him, but I do know that at the very least he's a decent footballer. He's not, he's never going to be world class, but I think his level at Aston Villa is probably just a little bit undecided from where he should be. He's always been a workhorse. He's always been proficient being a midfielder. So I feel like, if there's an El Neni injury or a Partey or whoever, he can come in and do a job. And it's better to have someone that can come in and do a job like your Milners, like your Hendersons, for example. Like, they may not be world class, top of the line players, but they can come in and do a job, and you don't lose too much in the midfield.
And you can score from the corner.
Exactly. So
twice this season so far.
Yeah, perfect. So that'll help. That'll help Arsenal a lot, definitely.
There's an interesting line just on there that's kind of gone underneath. Aston Villa also announced Dendoncker as a new signing. I mean, I think that's actually. I think that's quite a decent little sign, and I think Leandro Dendoncker is a good player at Wolves. I know that they were quite congested because they brought in, Mateus Nunes has come in there, and they've got a number of, midfield options already. But Leandro Dendoncker is a decent little deal. I'm not quite sure what the price is there because he's not elaborated, but they need some new blood in it, Villa, because they're not a happy team, are they?
Well, I mean, after the investment from the sale of Jack Grealish, you'd have thought, I felt like they got, was it Dean Smith? I think it was.
Yeah, Dean Smith went after about 7 or 8 games, wasn't it?
Yeah, I felt like they just didn't give him enough time to really, I don't know, to mold his.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think we've got a troll here in the comments.
Twisted. Unless you're going to send an instant link to Josh as to where that's from, and it needs to be blue tick Fabrizio. I'm not ready to read this. I don't want to read this.
Yeah, that's all right. I will definitely be checking my phone throughout the duration. But yeah, look, it's a good one. He got me on one the other day. It was De Jong to Chelsea and someone else somewhere else to troll me, and I got scooped up in it. Yeah, there we go. So there's your proof.
Yep. There it is. Look at that.
Yeah, but especially Wolves, late movers in the market as well. But this purchase of Dendoncker and there's a potential couple of incomings for Aston Villa. I just haven't got the names right on me right now. But does this show that they're going to be backing Gerrard into the season, do you think? Or
well, they need to, don't they? I mean, Aston Villa is definitely a work in progress because the results have been nowhere near. I mean, it's as simple as that. They've not got anywhere near the results that you would have wanted. The performances have been hit and miss. There's times where I've watched Aston Villa because I'm a Liverpool fan. And Steven Gerrard. I have started to watch Villa basically because ultimately, the links of him becoming the Liverpool manager, in the future, not, I know it's laughable, isn't it? But he'd just come from Rangers, an invincible season, won the league, first time in a decade for them. They were playing very good football. they were doing very, and the most important one is they were doing very well in the Europa League. Like that was like, the real litmus test to say, well, anyone can do it in the Scottish League, but for a Scottish team to do well in Europe, that proves that it's more than just
there's something about it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, my first initial thoughts when Steven Gerrard was linked with the job was, no, don't come yet. Like, like, stay another 18 months, another 2 years out of the limelight, away from pressure and media, learn the lessons, because there's a lot of lessons to learn, not just on the pitch, but off the pitch. Exactly. And I think Gerrard's learning the off the pitch stuff right now, with what's going on with Aston Villa, because they had all the problems with Tyrone Mings. Like, they're not putting the effort in. And we heard Gerrard come out saying that there's players at the club who, if they don't want to be involved in what we're doing, they're going to leave. And for me, this indicates that Louis, the young man we're just talking about here, Louis Douglas, Douglas Louis, sorry, he has clearly been one of those people who's, they're happy for him to leave. So he may well not have been part of Gerrard's longer term plan in the first place.
Yeah, I feel with the Gerrard thing though, like I don't heavily follow the Scottish League, but I've got an Australian manager at Celtic, Ange Postecoglou. So there's been a little bit more interest there. Now this was after Gerrard came back to the Premier League. Now, last season, while arguably Rangers weren't as good and Celtic took back the league, but the fact that I feel like a lot of it was down to the infrastructure of Rangers, and Gerrard just came in with a decent idea and helped them push that along. Now, that's not underselling any of his ability or any future growth or potential, but if you're going into a club that's well run, as we all know, a club that's well run, that has a structure that always does well, it's so much easier and seamless to get in and do a good job. So coming to Villa, you can argue whether they run well or not. That's sort of 50-50 down the middle, but it's the fact that he's learning those lessons like Lampard did, for example, that it's never going to be easy, and it's a lot, as you rightly say, pressure, and Villa are making the moves now, and I feel like they are going to probably back him until January and see where he goes, give him a couple more players, and then just see how he goes come the mid-year. But next story here, Fabrizio Romano, we already knew about this one. Anthony and I talk about this one on our team of the week, but Willy Bolly joins Forest from Wolves, another exit from Wolves there. I think it's a fairly good signing.
See Forest doing a signing. They've not done a lot of business, have they?
No. I mean,
just the 8.
I think it makes it 19 players now, possibly.
Oh, yeah. I love it. I love the ambition, because they're exactly the opposite of like Bournemouth, who've bought no one.
Justice for Scott Parker, everyone.
Tell me about it. They sent him to war with a stick.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But yeah, Nottingham, they've I think what was the overall spend they said? It was like 150 odd million. Or
they've spent all the Premier League money. All that Premier League money.
They've thrown it all in the basket, and I'm hoping against hope, just for nostalgia's sake and for history's sake, that they can stay up, because otherwise that's going to be a mass exodus for them and another long time in the lower leagues if they don't get it right this season. At least that's a personal thought. I don't know what you think, but Nottingham, they're playing okay. A little bit toothless up front, which I think is the need for getting Willy Bolly and a couple of other players that they've got. So soon see how they all meld together, I guess. What do you think on them at the moment?
For me, with Nottingham Forest, they just seem like they're very, very raw. They look like a team who's not been in the Premier League. Like, not just as in like the manager and obviously some of the players. A lot of those players are Premier League quality and have played, across the Premier League, so they know what they're doing. The manager clearly has never been in the Premier League, and they're learning some lessons where they're basically just being very naive. So the first match was Nottingham Forest versus Newcastle. I had that game as a 0-0, and it was up until half time. And the reason it was because I've never seen any Premier League team defend as deeply as they did. Like, it was, they had almost no chances. I think one decent save out of Dubravka, and that was it. It was like we're coming for a 0-0, but we're not going to come with a plan of like, well, we'll punish you when you get it wrong. They just seem to like, you have the ball, and we'll put 11 men round the box. And they got caught out. They conceded to a really good Fabian Schär goal, which, they happen at the end of the day. But then after that, it was 2-0 and then it was finished. And then, of course, they did brilliantly against West Ham when West Ham weren't doing well. First home game, loads of energy, and they got that 1-0. And then you thought, all right, here we go. This is what we were talking about. And then they seemed to do, again, another naivety. Now, they got a good away result against Everton. They probably should have won the game. 5 minutes to go. And then, they didn't put it across the line. But a point away at Everton is a good result at the end of the day for a new team. You move forward with it, don't you? But then the one that got me, which was the biggest, was the Tottenham game.
Yeah.
I was just gobsmacked that they tried to play Tottenham exactly the way Tottenham want you to play. We'll have the ball and we'll let you counter-attack us. And it was just it was
a big brain moment.
Do what Wolves did. You should have done what Wolves did, which was says, you have the ball. We don't care. And a draw is good for us. You're big bad Tottenham. You come and score. And they didn't. They just thought, well, we'll just go and play football against Tottenham and it's brave. But the Premier League isn't for the brave, it's for the clever.
No, that's right. And I think you'll find as the team gels, as the manager sort of realizes, well, hey, this isn't the Championship.
No.
We can't just play the one way all the time. You have to adapt week by week.
Yeah.
At least the bigger clubs, so your Liverpools, your Cities, they have their way of playing and everyone has to set up to try and stop them. But when you're coming into it, you basically be like, okay, how does this team play? Where are their strengths? How do we nullify them? 9 times out of 10, that's a low block and a counter-attack.
Yes.
But I think they will probably just be safe. But in the end, it's a good signing, and they've got probably an Aston Villa or slightly lower level squad of players there. Probably won't achieve as well due to manager and infrastructure. But yeah, their signings have been pretty good. What have we got here? Oh, yes, Aubameyang to Chelsea. It's all sorted and ready to go. 2-year deal with a 1 year option to extend. So this is going to make the red part of London 50-50, I guess. Like, a lot of them wanted him out for all the trash that was being said, and him not really caring. But he's reunited with Tuchel, the manager that probably got the best out of him at Dortmund in his time. So yeah, I mean, I think this one's a little bit of a game changer. Chelsea need someone that can put the ball in the net, like have done since arguably Diego Costa. Lukaku had his settings. He was abysmal. Excuse me, Timo Haaland. Anthony's got it in my head. Timo Werner, Kai Havertz, all these other guys, they've just not fired. Key goals, great, awesome, but I think this can be a bit of a game changer. And as long as if they get a midfielder that's actually decent quality, I think that will complete their window and make them much more competitive. So what do you make of this one?
I mean, my concern is, and I think this is something to be remembered, is which version of Aubameyang are they going to get? Are they going to get the version who left Arsenal, who was clearly not bothered anymore, had got his big payday, obviously had issues with, disciplinary bits and pieces, not turning up and all that kind of stuff, which was the reason he was quite happily let go. They terminated his contract and let Barca literally make free money. And then the Aubameyang who turned up at Barcelona was the one that Chelsea were probably hoping that they're going to get. The one who will come in, work hard, play, score goals, do what he's going to go and do. Yeah. So it will depend on which version of Aubameyang turns up. If it's the version that left Arsenal, then that's a bad deal. But if it was the version who turns up, then it's a really good deal. Do you know what I mean? If it's the one who was his really good deal. The only other thing I would say about Aubameyang is he has a broken jaw at the moment. Unfortunately, I think it's because he was a victim of a crime, and obviously I hope he gets better with that one. So he's not going to be immediately available, to play. But me and Jesse Darius has popped up there. We actually said that Chelsea's problem was they've got all the players who fit around, but they're all side acts. They need the main man, and Aubameyang on his day is the main man. He's the one who, Sterling had De Bruyne, Sterling had Harry Kane for England. he's the support act, and they need a main character, and this could be the main character. So if he gets up and he does well, I'll tell you what, it could be a really good signing for them. Really good.
Yeah, we'll quickly jump into the comments here. I've had a few come in the time. Twisted, can you rate out of 10 the top 6 transfer window as it looks now, just briefly? We can always give a quick run through. I'll City probably. I'm going to have to say 9.5. I've got this Haaland agenda, but I mean, it seems to have paid off. And then you've got Alvarez in the wings, and I don't know what can you say. They've signed a Kanji, and he's a quality player. He's going to reinforce that defensive line strongly. Liverpool, I'd say you're probably looking at a 6. I mean, you guys haven't really brought in. No. Bear with me.
We're the bottom.
Hey,
we're the worst. Number 6.
No. I'll say about 6.5 out of 10.
Oh, so I thought you meant 6 out of 6. I was like,
oh no, about 6.5 out of 10.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I like that. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, like no game changers. United at the moment, I'd say 7 out of 10, only because they haven't got their number one target. Chelsea, probably 6 again. Sterling looks good, but it is what it is. Arsenal, I'm going to say they're 8 so far, based on what they've done so far off the back of their signings. They've looked incredible. Not scintillating form, but whatever. Who am I missing here?
Well, you'd have Spurs, but I would put Spurs probably as around about a 5.5.
Yeah, it looked good to start with.
Yeah, it got off to a really good start with Zuma and exactly. Perisic, but then it was like, well, none of this is moving me. Like, where's and then Richarlison, I don't rate as a signing. I think he's a good option, but I don't think he changes them for much for the better.
No, that's right. Yeah, well, that's about that. Without midfielder, it must be in relation to Chelsea there, I'd say.
Yeah, so, Chelsea about midfielder. Yeah.
Does Tuchel know how to use a striker? Well, he hasn't really had one that's wanted to work for him, but I mean, Aubameyang had some good numbers at Dortmund, and he went to PSG, but they don't really follow any manager, to be fair. So that's what that is. Going to be relying solely on wingbacks for creativity once again. Well, without a midfield signing, definitely. So, yeah. All right, we'll go back into the feed here. Let's see what we got. I don't need to worry about that. Oh, this one is interesting. How the mighty have fallen.
James to Fulham? What?
Yes. How the mighty have fallen. He burst onto the scene with his four goals in 5 games at United, and then he's gone to Leeds and done sweet FA. Now he's going to Fulham. I don't see. That's a pretty level signing. I think that is Dan James level. That's not going to.
I never saw what the big deal was about him.
No, I really never did. He's probably. The best part of him is his counterattacks. Long ball over the top against a high line. He was lethal, but then again, his finishing wasn't that great. So, like Wan-Bissaka, he'd knock the ball on and try and beat them for pace. That was pretty much all he did. Pace merchant. And Leeds are set to sign Bamba Dieng as replacement.
It's funny though, isn't it, how Leeds have gone that situation, that Leeds was so heavily set. Not just like they missed out on him, obviously, the season United bought him. And then as soon as an option came available, it was a Bielsa signing, wasn't it? Bielsa was absolutely adamant that he needed Dan James. And I think that this is Jesse Marsh saying, I don't. Like, he's not my player. I don't want him.
Yeah.
This is good. This is actually really good from Leeds, actually, to be honest with you. It's good that Leeds are backing their manager. Their manager's clearly been discussed about Dan James in his team, and he said, I don't feel I have a place for him. I'd like to move him on.
Yeah, well, it's a 12-month loan as being discussed right now. But, this Bamba Dieng, I don't know who he is. He's from OM, I'm assuming, is Marseille. And that's coming in for 10 million. So they might, if they're buying him long term, then I think potentially Dan James might be a push out with an option to buy or an obligation to buy, I'd say, with those sorts of terms. Yeah. Hector Bellerin's going to Barcelona.
Yeah, well, completely free deal. Oh, no, not Barcelona, but he was at the start of this because Bellerin was at Betis last season. When the season came to an end, he was literally saying, like, don't bring me back. I don't want to come back to Arsenal. Get it sorted with Betis. And I don't think that kind of worked out in the end. But Barcelona, I mean, what a move for him at the end of the day. He's, new contract, gets to play for Barcelona, and at the end of the day, it replaces that Azpilicueta sort of, player that they weren't going to get. They needed, they obviously wanted another right back. They've got Alonso, but they ended up with Bellerin. So everyone wins there. I don't see this being a bad deal, and La Liga clearly suits Bellerin.
Yeah, well, it was never really it for the Prem, was he? Like,
No.
He was never really able to keep up with it. But you know what? That's good for them. Good for them. Arsenal get someone else off the books. What else have we got here? Oh, that's Willy Bolly to Nottingham. We got very nice little things here. We go. Dan James, Fulham. So that's been confirmed by Fabrizio. Scroll through here. These are all just updates. No. Oh, look at that. Bournemouth, all the tickets have been sold to Brentford. Excellent. What have we got here? This is the one you're telling me about in the back room. Southampton in talks to sign Maxime Lacroix. Could be a huge one. Not easy, but negotiations are ongoing. Lacroix is keen on the move. Saints are now trying. Coletta Carr is another option in the list. So they're looking at defenders. Yeah, well, I mean, what was their losing margin again? Was it they won 1-0 just gone?
They beat Southampton, beat Chelsea 2-1, lost to Hughes 1-0. They lost 4-1 to Southampton first game of the season. I think they got 2-2 draw, so they're in negative figures. But as I say, they're not. I still think Southampton are. I still don't believe them not being involved in the relegation shout this year. I really do. I feel that they're going to be involved in the relegation shout this season. But this could be a really good signing if Southampton can do it. And it still shows somehow they're able to attract players, even though obviously they're not in a good place at the moment.
Yeah, and I think the spiral will continue unless they can get 2 or 3 loans or signings or whatever in. Free agent if there's a decent one, but they're going to spiral all the way down there. So, Jesse Marsh. Okay, never mind. Kanji on the way to City. That was we touched on that briefly. I think that's a good signing. He's got a good turn of pace as well, so I think he'll be suited for those cutting the ball off, getting back, whatever. Sorry, just going through here.
Oh, sorry, what was that about Rodrigo? That's for all the FPL merchants out there, including me. Just go down a little bit more, mate.
Doesn't down a little bit.
Oh, sorry, missed it.
Yeah, doesn't need surgery. We're targeting after the international break. Everyone else is in training.
Big miss for Leeds. That's a lot.
He's looked in
still
good form
a few
too,
weeks about him.
Yeah, it's a shame. Well, I had him, but then I got rid of him last week, or the week before. So it was a good timing. The foresight. I'll claim it anyway. Levin Kazawa has signed the contract as new Fulham player. Done deal completed with PSG on loan. Not bad, but he never really cemented himself in PSG's team as far as I'm aware. So
didn't quite work out there, did it?
But I think they got Areola from PSG as well. So some sort of subconscious link up. We'll see. Yeah, who we got here? Depay. This one's interesting.
That'll be.
Yeah, this is the one that's quite interested me because there was links with United, Chelsea. I think there was a talk with and loose links to sort of Arsenal and a couple of those guys previously, but no advanced talks with Chelsea, just to focus on Aubameyang and Memphis, closer to staying than leaving. But it's a long day. Termination of contract is ready, but only in case Depay will agree with another club. Otherwise, it won't happen. So he's basically just deliberating. There may be a move, but according to Fab here, it's likely that he's, like it says here, closer to staying than leaving, but don't rule anything out. Another placeholder tweet. I don't think there'd be a lot in that. Interesting to see if he goes somewhere. I personally wouldn't have him back at United. He's gone on to be decent. And again, if he came in, sure, it's a number for Martial and Ronaldo, but because Rashford's not a front line player, he's not a striker, and that's the end of that. Anyway, well, A little thing on Brentford there. That's just news. Aubameyang again. This is just.
I suppose the one to look at would be the Arthur Melo transfer. Would be a good one to bring up.
Yeah. We'll just see if we can find that here. Because there's the Anthony to United. Don't get fooled by the price. This guy is legit. He's gonna be a revelation in my opinion. We'll touch on
the Brazilian Hakim Ziyech.
Oh, we'll see. All right. Well, look, we'll might just bump out of this for a second and get back into it. But yeah, we'll jump into the comments here. Dan James chose Fulham over Spurs. I know Spurs were in, but I don't think they were too serious about that, to be fair. There was a loose link. I don't remember the source I saw that from, but yeah, I don't think it was ever going to Spurs. Willian and James to Fulham. Some interesting signings. Honestly, might work well for them. Absolutely no idea where Willian's head is at the moment. Well, yeah, he's made some interesting moves in the last couple of seasons. I'll give him that much. But, I mean, maybe he's after a last decent payday. Who knows?
Back to London, isn't it?
Washed. Yeah, but he's washed. Willian's been washed for a few years now. So, I don't know. Maybe tie up his loose ends before he goes into retirement. Who knows? Any news on Liverpool midfield? This is the one we'll talk about. Yeah. The Arthur Medical's happening. 1 year loan. So, Arthur Melo coming from Juventus. Wasn't he the player that was traded with
Miller and Pjanic?
Yeah, Pjanic to Barcelona. Was it 2 seasons ago now?
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
but he decent player. Like, I guess not on the level of Douglas Luiz, but like sort of I think he'll play a similar role for Liverpool. To be honest, it's just you guys need a player in midfield. It doesn't have to be
a player with plenty of experience. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's got plenty of experience. He's on a loan.
Yep.
There's no obligation to buy him. If it doesn't work out, so what?
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
not cost anyone anything, has it? I'm not going to pretend to sit here and go, I know all this and all that about him, because I don't. I don't watch a Serie A, and I don't watch, kind of Champions League. But what I have done is sort of watch these complimations. And unlike strikers, where, I could make you a complimation of, with anyone and make them look incredible, because they can score a goal from here and whatever. But what I did like is from what I could see, he was press resistant. He could pass the ball. He could run with the ball. He likes to have the ball at his feet. And those are all good traits to have. Is he going to come into Liverpool and be like, the revelation, he's the new starting player in the midfield? Maybe, perhaps. It's an opportunity for Arthur, isn't it? Like, for him, this is an opportunity to say, actually, it's not me. I've just not been in the right places to show what I want to do. Yeah. One of the things I've been reading is saying that Arthur is a very good player. And Juventus fans on there have been saying it's really down to Allegri. Allegri doesn't like the ball. And a player like Arthur wants to be in a team that has the ball. So Liverpool has the ball. This could work out really well. And who knows, it can only go one or two ways. It either fails, we don't keep him, it could be great. And, he's a potential option that we buy for £40 million or whatever and replaces Oxlade-Chamberlain. It could happen. Is he the player that I wanted? No, but I've resigned myself to the fact that there's no way Liverpool are going to go out there and sign, their next big midfielder this season. Yeah. It's not going to happen. We weren't going to get Frankie de Jong because we weren't linked with him really. It was just kind of in the air. We weren't going to get Nicolo Barella because ultimately Inter won't let him go. And if they did, the price would be extortionate.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Jude Bellingham, we know that story. It's getting boring now. Next season is when things will either happen or they won't. So we'll just have to wait and see with that one.
Yeah, and I mean, the structure of the deal, it makes it very obvious that he's just a stopgap. Because when you've got the loan with no obligation or no option, he's literally there for that 1 year. If he impresses, then great. But if he turns out to be a Saul Niguez, for example, then no skin off your back. You've just poured a little bit of money out of your wage bill into a player that didn't really work out. But that worst to best case situation, you'll at least have an extra number in midfield, and I think that's the most important thing at this point, especially. So covering those gaps is going to be crucial for the congested Premier League this year. So, yeah. All right, I'll go into the next ones. Where are we here? I think I've lost it.
Yeah, Arthur was at Juventus as a primary commodity of a shoddy deal between Juve and Barca. I don't think his form has been his fault. Jesse, that's great. Like, of course, as a Liverpool fan, the one thing I won't want to say is like, oh, now you're saying about it. I did get that feeling from what I was reading that ultimately there was something going on between the two clubs, and he had no choice. He was just moved. Like, yeah, by the way, you're going to Juventus now. And from what I've seen and from the numbers he's put up there, he plays within the 95th and 97th centile for passing. He's a very, very good passer of the football. He's not your progressive, but he's more of a Gini Wijnaldum. He's someone who keeps the ball, and then basically sets tempos and energies. He's like a Thiago, but of course doesn't have that kind of vision. He's someone who can set the tempo and the pace. It's what Liverpool need. If he's available, if he stays fit, if he's hungry, this is a great opportunity. And one thing I did quite like is from the way it was reported from Fabrizio was that he immediately agreed. As soon as, he heard like Liverpool were interested, he went, yes, there was no question. I'm
exactly.
going.
Yeah. I'll move into here. Man got forced into the move. Twisted with a question. Did Klopp want Melo? I personally don't think he did. I just think he wanted someone. He obviously knew that he wasn't going to get Bellingham, obviously, because that's a forward planning move. That's a big money move. That's going to take a lot of time and effort to get over the line. So I personally don't think Klopp would have wanted him, but I think he just wanted a number. Probably not in that vein of player. I don't know what your thoughts on that are.
No, I mean, as a loan, no one loses here, do they? I mean, it's not like Liverpool could go out and say, for example, we could have signed Douglas Luiz, like we just talked about. We signed for 20 million. He's on a 4-year contract and he's on £125,000 a week for 4 years. Yeah. You're then stuck with that player because unlike Yuri Tillemans, who I do have question marks over as a player, I'm not overly convinced in him. Well, Yuri Tillemans just has more of a value attached to him. That if Liverpool had him for 18 months, it didn't work out. We'd be able to sell Yuri Tillemans probably for what he cost. Where Douglas Luiz is kind of a player which he just doesn't come across to me as the kind of player I think Liverpool would want. But Arthur Melo, as I say, if he's hungry, if he's quickly, if he would tell the stories as is true, that as soon as Liverpool came knocking, he was like, yeah, I'm going. Even when he's at a club like Juventus, it shows that he's not happy at Juventus and was ready for a new challenge. So it's on Arthur Melo at the end of the day to come to Liverpool and say, do you know something? I'm here. There's a reason.
Announce himself.
Yeah, exactly. There was a reason I was bought by Barcelona. There was a reason I played in the Champions League. There's a reason, I've done all of these things. It's not just because there was no one else. And for £5 million or €5 million loan fee, if it doesn't work out, whatever, we move. Do you know what I'm saying? It's But I think that this actual transfer, and this is the thing I don't like. I think that this is completely in response to Henderson's injury. I don't think anyone was coming until that point.
And probably softened by the blow. Softened by the fact that you won the game as well. Because, who was playing Carvalho and Elliott in the end, I think?
Carvalho, Elliott, and Milner was out. And Milner played to the right-hand side. Kostas Tsimikas came on for Robertson. So, we swapped our two sides. Fabinho was with Elliott and Carvalho. Wonderful when it comes to when you've got all the possession and you're attacking. Absolutely. But not when you're trying to control the game.
And I feel that's the key thing. It's just you can't rely on juniors at that level with this congestion, as we've said numerous times. And the old adage, if you're old enough, you're good. Or if you're good enough, you're old enough. But you still don't want to rely on that. So we'll move in here. They're cooking their books, Barca to bring in a certain amount of money. Well, we knew that one. Is Melo the guy? We might move on from Melo. Sort of hovered on him a little bit there. And we'll jump back into the feed here and see what we got to say. Oh wait, Jesse's asking, have you covered Douglas Luiz to Arsenal? Yeah, had a quick touch on that. Basically, just sort of mimicking what was similarly said about Arthur Melo here. Is just he's a decent player, but I don't think he's going to push Arsenal too high. He's got a decent injury record, but I don't think he's going to be the difference between a title charge and a victory in the long and short of it. So, yeah. All right, so we'll jump into the thing here. Now, this one got me surprised. I know there was a big lineup here, but Newcastle ended up with Alexander Isak, so this doesn't surprise me at all. So, yeah, the Newcastle bid fell down, and then this domino, João Pedro is staying at Watford, and I also heard by extension that because of this deal falling through, now Pedro and Ismail Assar are not for sale on deadline day, so they're going to be at Watford for another year. But yeah, Everton not looking very good. They recently got Jimmy Garner, 9 million plus add-ons, I'm pretty sure. Yep. So yeah, that's a shame from a United perspective, because I would have loved to have seen him do it, but yeah, don't know what to say about that. That's a fairly straightforward transfer, unless you have any thoughts on it.
No, yeah, João Pedro. I mean, this was just a player that was quite linked with two teams who did need attackers, Newcastle being one of them, and of course Everton being the second team, who currently have only got Anthony Gordon as a goal scorer in their team. They come up against Liverpool this weekend. It's going to be an interesting one, as I say. But João Pedro would have been an interesting signing, especially for Everton, because he seems to be in and around their kind of realm of reach at the moment. But more, not so much concerning for Newcastle, but more concerning for Everton. That Everton's bid was turned down, and then that was it. Kind of thing that ultimately, the valuation that Everton put on, they clearly wanted him, but not for the kind of price that they offered. Yeah,
well, I mean, they're going to want the compensation, because if they're going to get the biggest players taken from them, they're going to want a good payday for it. So absolutely. Oh, there's a little. that's even though it's not Prem related, that's interesting. Martin Braithwaite, the most, I think it was Danish guy, wasn't he? He was playing in the second tier for a while. Stoke City, possibly. Unless you can
Martin Braithwaite, yeah. Was he at Middlesbrough? Was he at Stoke? He was at one of the two, wasn't
he? Yeah. That's the one. Yeah, but the terminated contract to Barcelona, it's over. He's going to go to Espanyol for 3 years. That's interesting. Jack Stevens. Do you know who Jack Stevens is? I have no idea who this guy is, but Bournemouth have.
For a second, he looked like our drawn Cesc Fabregas.
Yeah, he did. The Midlands Fabregas, yeah.
Yeah, Marcelo, apparently. That's what I was going to say to Leicester. Marcelo to Leicester. Here we go. Hey, listen, this is the one that people forget. Roberto Mancini used to play for Leicester for about 3 games or something before he retired.
Here we go. That's the one. Jack Stevens from Southampton on loan to Bournemouth for the season. So that explains that for me. That doesn't mean shit to me, to be fair. I don't know who this guy is. What do we got here?
Very big on him.
Yeah. Wait, what's that?
Man of the match for West Ham.
Oh, this is just being ridiculous. Another 2. There you go. There's your man. He finally did something when he could have done something in the
2 assists for Jesse. That's it. Yeah, listen, he was calling him. He's on fraud watch. There's no fraud for Salah. He's a GA merchant.
Well, we Anthony and I put him in staller of the week, because how can you do 9 goals and not have a single contribution? But that's just a bit of friendly.
Hey, listen, that's what it's about. He was sharing it out, spreading the love.
Yeah, he's going to make a late comeback against Haaland to try and get the golden boot. What's the bet?
Tell me it saved my ass. What a player, Jesse says.
Yeah.
Oh, funny.
Yeah, that's what we like to see. Well, I think this is just ridiculous now.
It's funny because it could be this evening when things really start to get going. The next 4 or 5 hours. We'll be waiting to see on all those, because there's been a lot of speculation for a lot of players who are still kind of up in the air. If Yuri Tillemans isn't sold, he goes for free.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. Like, my biggest question overhanging is, why has no one come in for him if he's that well touted and that well sought after? I'm just, I wonder if, as we've said, I wonder if there's anything the clubs know that we don't, that, people like Fab or Ornstein haven't really heard about. Even, I don't know, even if you've got some of your club-based journalists, you'll have to help me out because I don't know too many of them. But yeah,
you've got James Pearce, Liverpool, but the problem with Liverpool is when it comes to our transfers, genuinely nothing is released until it's literally happening. It's really boring. Like, there's never any sort of this guy always says something 2 days before or 3 days before. Like for Liverpool, it's literally like we're starving until literally it's happened, and they don't let us know anything.
Yeah. Well, look, maybe some of the bigger deals, any transfers you want to talk about? I know Anthony to United was unveiled only mere few hours ago. All of the prop coming out.
Are you really all in on that one? Are you really all in on that deal?
Well, look, it's one of those, like, I was talking with Annie in the chat in one of our streams in the Discord, right? And it was like, look, I've got this excitement, not for the fact of the money, but it's like, how often do we see someone of, I guess, that old futsal mold where it's your Brazilian street baller who is quick and very technically proficient, good with his feet, can cut inside, and just has all of that package in the one, and actually had the permission to do it while it was at Ajax. Like even his old managers and that have come out and said, look, this is the sort of player you want to keep with you for your entire managerial career. Now, I don't know if that's just propaganda to pump up the United fans, but like, you don't see that sort of player in the Premier League, and they maintain that sort of level of them where they keep that, I don't know, yeah, just that baller, that techie guy that's 100% eye test, and he's got some stats behind him. Now, a lot of that gets trained out of the young players. They it's all system based. Go, you're in this role, you do this. Where it usually find it's the sort of the lower level teams. Now, that's what I'm excited about to see. We've got the guy, Eric Ten Hag, who's given him his levels, which is why he's coming to the Premier League now, which is why, even months ago, Chelsea and that were inquiring about him. Even City were inquiring about him when he was at Sao Paulo, apparently, 20 million fee. And he just said, no, not this time of his life. So, I mean, I'm interested to see how he does. I am very excited because, the what are they called? The compilations were compilationing. I was very happy with what I was seeing. The guy looks incredible, and I'm talking like Dan James levels of rapidness here. Like, not that Dan James was a good player. I'm not saying that in the slightest, but he's quick. This guy is very quick. He can beat a man, and it could be the solution to the right hand side. And he's an out and out right winger. So this means Rashford and Sancho should be battling for the left wing, and Alanga will get a look in somewhere at some point. So yeah,
I mean, listen, I'm the price aside, I'll put it over there and try and forget about it, because unfortunately you are paying 85 million euros for a player. Sorry, 85 million pounds, 100 million euros for a player who, of course, all of those things you said are totally true. Yeah, he's got epic amounts of talent, very good footwork, and all that kind of stuff that you would want. Do I know if he'll work or not? Of course I don't. Like, I've got no idea. He could be the perfect fit for the Premier League. I've called him the Samba Ziyech. I could be right. I could be wrong. We've watched players, who can do and cut it in different leagues and stuff like that. My only concern about it, he's going to have to pump up their numbers because they're rookie numbers. He's not put up enough goals or assists for me in what's a weaker league. He is going to have to step up. You can tell me if you believe he's capable of doing that. Of course, any player is capable of stepping up. That this season he could be even better than he was last season, absolutely. But the numbers don't fill me with right, okay, this guy is putting up, really good numbers. He's assisting lots. Like, assisting happens in any league. It does, exactly. It doesn't matter. Scoring goals, like, you could bang in loads of goals in the Slovenian league, and you're not going to move me with that. But
that's right.
Setting up players is allowing another player, and it gives them the chance to do what they need to do. So if they finish, well, great. But if you're providing that assist, I would like to have seen some better numbers, and that's my only concern so far. He's got lots of brilliant talent. Of course, he's like your Samba player, of course. But his numbers are just going to have to just
rise. Yeah, and I mean, I've got to
hear on single figures.
That's right, single figures each time. Now, even if you go over to his time at Sao Paulo, like, in the league right here, he was there 2 years, and all up out of 33 games, 4 goals, 6 assists. Now I won't go already about the Brazilian national team because he's only got like 8 appearances.
Yeah, he's not. They are of one position that they do have is wingers. In fairness, at Brazil,
Exactly.
so he's going to struggle. Yeah. But this is it. It's the Eredivisie. He's in Ajax. He's in the number 1 club. I know people will say, "Well, they weren't." They were. They were still Ajax. They're still a big, incredible club at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
And they are unfortunately playing against some farmers, in the lower parts of that league. Yeah. That's my only concern. My only concern is just the goals and assists are just not. I'd like to have seen more. If I saw 10 goals and maybe 8 assists, say for example last season, 21-22, when they were completely dominant. Did he have an injury? Is that the reason why he didn't play?
I would assume so. It doesn't really say here, but I would assume based on his numbers here, because I think it's a 34 game.
He got a red card, so he must have missed at least 1 match for his red card.
And 4 yellows, that doesn't constitute the red over time, does it? You need 5, I think.
So he could have had a straight red. I'm not quite sure. So maybe he missed 3 matches from there or whatever. Yeah. But 8 goals, 4 assists, dominant team, top of the league. That's my only thing about me is just I'm just looking at that and it's not like taking my breath away at the moment. Like if he comes into Manchester United and brings those numbers, it will be, of course, an improvement on last season. Yeah. But I think you would probably agree that you would want to see more. Like,
yeah. I mean, as a sheer basis, I'd like to see in the realm of 10 to 15 goal contributions, at least to start with. Now I know that's in similar numbers here, but
it's in a bigger league. It's in a bigger
league. So maintaining those things, because we saw, and I remember being on a particular channel with a particular person saying that Jadon Sancho is not even going to get 90, like he's going to have a 90% drop in his stats coming to the Premier League. I guarantee you this. Now I'm like, oh no, even if it's 50%, that's still talent. I'm just like, well, no, it's not Bundesliga tax. It's just the fact that this guy is young. Same deal with Anthony. Now, this guy, I believe he has the potential to be better than Sancho. This is just a personal thing. Now, Sancho's not particularly quick, but he's good with his feet. This guy is all of it. Now, this has to be, I feel like it's going to be a long and gradual process, because United aren't the finished article by far for what Ten Hag's trying to build. But he's now got himself sort of this obtuse, off-centered spine of players that are going to help his system. Now, Ronaldo is obviously going to be staying at the club, barring any deadline day madness, and so I'm assuming that he might be deploying Ronaldo as a target man for a good part. And this is where Anthony, he's left-footed, so he'll cut in, put crosses off his left foot, off the right wing. Rashford cut in right foot crosses. So I think he'll be finding a lot of headed goals or a lot of pre-assists coming from the wings. So as long as he has 10 to 15 goal contributions, I think it'll still be a decent season. But yeah, he's also good at driving from deep, as Jesse says here. He might collect the ball off the DMs. He does a lot of the overlapping plays with fullbacks. But yeah, it's that cutting inside, trying to find a midfielder coming to the top of the box is where a lot of that comes from. So he doesn't have a lot of outright goal contributions, but he does have, if I was more prepared, I could have shown you on Squawka, but he has sort of the pass before the pass, the pre-assist, is what they call. He had a decent percentage of those, but they don't go in your GA stats or even your expected GAs. But yeah, look, this guy excites me. The price.
My concern is what you have as a team, though. Like that's my concern is that he's got, who's he pre-assisting? Do you understand? Like, Martial's not fit. It's Ronaldo. Right. Ronaldo's out of sorts at the moment at United. He's clearly not the flavour of the month for this season. And, he wasn't the player that people would have wanted. Rashford, of course, had a good game against Liverpool in comparison to his previous games recently. But then against Southampton, he wasn't great again. And that's my thing, that what you're talking about there is, and what Jesse's mentioned there is that Anthony's going to be relying on other people playing well. And what United need is him playing well. If you know what I'm saying, they're going to need him playing well. And he might have to just step up and start taking on some of those other responsibilities to just, because that's what he's come in for at the end of the day. He's come in there to help improve Manchester United, and he might have to take the game by the scruff of his neck and say, do you know what, listen, I'm here now, and this is what we can do, get a bit of belief back around the club. So yeah, I mean, I'm open to it. At the end of the day, he comes with a big price tag. Liverpool have signed a player with a big price tag as well. We brought in Darwin Nunez. He's going to be potentially an £85 million player. And he's gonna have to do it. I mean, of course, Arthur Melo's stats. I mean, that's different, isn't it?
Yeah, like this is Barcelona. Like, I mean,
he's not. He's a central midfielder, isn't he? So
no, he's a central midfielder, and this is not sort of looking at attacking contributions. But what I'm trying to pull on here is that I think these sort of appearances are what you're going to see this year for Liverpool. So you look here for Barcelona. He's had probably 2/3 to 3/4 of league appearances over those 2 years. If we move over to Juventus here, like the last 2 years, 22 and 20 consecutively. No assists, one singular goal. You can go to the Champions League, but I feel like this guy, he was deployed as, a bench option or a rotation option, and I feel like that's exactly what we're talking about for Melo here. Now, I don't know enough about his play style. I'm sure as you've rightly said before.
Just from what I watched, he's a player who picks the ball up from deep. He's the kind of Naby Keita sort of position. Naby Keita has poor goals and assists. His numbers are really poor. But I think from what we see from them, that's not his game. And from what I could see is Melo plays a similar style to Naby Keita. He's happy to pick the ball up deep from a centre-back, either make a run, make a pass, or, change your pace and try and get the ball moving forward through the centre of the park. He's that kind of link between defence, midfield, and then trying to play a ball into more creative, players on the wings and stuff like that. His role is really just to recycle the ball constantly, to be picking it up, making them and setting the pace. So, I mean, as I say, Liverpool don't score goals from midfield anyway. It's something we lack. The last time we had a midfielder who scored goals was Steven Gerrard that I can remember.
Coutinho,
we just don't have them. Yeah, Coutinho, but he was like a central attacking, wasn't he? He was sort of, like a genuine number 6 or an 8 or, who was like a goal scorer. It was Steven Gerrard. We just don't score goals from midfield. And that's been the difference between Liverpool and City. It has. City have got goals in the midfield and we don't. It's cost us on numerous occasions. De Bruyne coming up with 10 to 12 goals every season is massive.
Oh, they're elite numbers. And I mean, I feel, and literally just from what you're saying, he's definitely a step above your Milner.
Yeah, definitely.
And 100%. And above, technically above Henderson as well. Like Henderson is that good sort of, I don't know, Declan Rice mold of DM, and it's just been a workhorse, complete workhorse. I don't know what Melo's going to do for you.
Melo looks a little bit like Wijnaldum to me. From what I was looking at, he looks like a Wijnaldum. Wijnaldum's numbers were terrible as well. But again, as long as he can if he can come into Liverpool and if I'll be happy if he can come on the pitch and he's able to play a solid 7 out of 10, 6.5 out of 10 performance every game. If I can rely on him to come in and just be consistent and be reliable, that's good enough for me, because that's all we need. We need someone to come in, and if he can come in and say, do you know what? Listen, I'm here to stay. You'll want me. It's his choice. It's on Arthur Melo, isn't it? It's on him. Only he can put the performances on the pitch. If he comes in, plays brilliantly, and says, listen, I've just been at the wrong clubs. Barca got rid of me. They didn't want me. They did some mad transfer situation with Juventus. We know what they're like. I went to Juventus. Allegri never wanted me. Allegri doesn't play the style of football because they're anti-possession football with Allegri. It's proper Italian style football. Where for me, he's saying, I want the ball. And that's all I could ever see in the videos. Every time I showed it, he was really happy to have the ball at his feet. So Liverpool could work really, really well. I hope that he gets his match fitness up quite quickly. There was talk that he had an injury, but I'm not going to butcher his name. Is it Guilherme Balage?
Yeah, I've
the Spanish. He's a Spanish kind of like correspondent. He works for Sky and stuff like that, and BN Sports. He said that no, he is fine. He's not injured. The reason he's not played is because basically Allegri doesn't want to play him. He doesn't see him in his team. So he says he'd be ready for the Everton game. So we might need him. We really might need him because Henderson being out, and fingers crossed, if he's deemed fit enough to play, then get him in the team and give him a baptism of fire.
Oh yeah, and to talk about bloody local derby, it wouldn't be like anything he's experienced in the in this area, that's for sure. I know they're a vocal crowd, but different tribalistic areas. So yeah,
Balaga. Cheers, Jesse. Thanks,
Balaga, yeah.
Gilhan Balaga. He's took kind of like the lead on this one. You know, was like talking about it, and he said no, he is available. He hasn't got an ankle injury because that was reported, that he has an ankle injury at present, but he doesn't. He is fit to play. The issue is around match fitness because he hasn't played yet. So that could be the only question. But I mean, this is it. Hopefully he's ready to go, because we're potentially facing a midfield of Milner, Fabinho, and Elliott at the midweek. Yeah. Which, I mean, Henderson, Milner, it's no difference at the moment. There's no difference to me.
And I think you'll probably see I don't think you'll start, in personal opinion, I don't think you'll start against Everton. I think you might see him sort of or he might start and then come off at halftime, and then you have your Elliott or your Fabinho, not Fabinho, your Carvalho come on to Milner even to come on in that second half and just keep that energy up, because you'll get rid of Everton pretty easily. So that's my thoughts anyway.
I hope so.
Yeah. Although, you can never write them off, but I just they're so shit. They're so shit right now. But
Darwin Nunez is back.
Oh yeah, interesting. Those FPL guys will be happy.
He's back, Darwin Nunez.
90 minutes, and someone out there will captain him.
It was nice to see from my pitch. I was going to put it on there just for those who can see. It was lovely to see that, while he's had his red card, he's had a good chance to, think about his behaviour and calm down.
I don't doubt that his teammates told him off and Klopp chewed him out. Definitely, it's one of those things. It's one of those, but. I think we'll leave it at that. I mean, there's been no real big revelations, and as you rightly said, I think it'll be the next few hours. We'll get definitely pick it up, and I don't doubt someone here will, probably you and Jesse or someone else at some point.
I was going to speak to Jesse. Jesse, if you're available, or anyone who's available, we could jump on and maybe do like the 10 till 11, kind of just chat about what's going on. We can do a review of the Manchester United game, see what's going on there, and maybe just watch as the clock goes down to 11.
Yeah, even a post-match wrap-up could do a Matt thoughts on the match and a last bit of news on the window closing. So that could be good. But look, Dan, thank you for joining me and helping me out, because I probably would have gone 20 minutes if it was by myself. So that's fine. It turned into a good amount of content on the stream. So that's been us, guys. Yet again, if you're liking what you're seeing, and feel free to drop a like, a share, subscribe, comment down below. If you're watching on playback, please do the same. We love you guys. It's been brilliant. This growth is awesome. And anything else you want to say on your transfers or anything, Dan? Or
no, I want more midfielders. More
midfielders, please bring it. FSG, bring Bellingham in. How good would that be? It's not going to happen, but how good?
Tell me about it.
All right. Well, thanks, Jesse. Thanks, Twisted. Muncie talks in the chat earlier. All you guys, brilliant. We'll catch you next time, and glory, Man United.
Oh, God.